Usually, thieves execute any robbery silently to make it successful. But today, the robbery story I am going to tell you created such destruction on the streets of Brazil that even the police and army could not stop it. This entire robbery was carried out openly on the streets, in which an entire police station was surrounded, and the thieves escaped from the city right in front of the police's eyes. However, when the truth of this gang came out before the people, the ground slipped from under their feet, because it was that criminal gang of Brazil which had the power to destroy several cities. So finally, with whom were this gang's wires connected? How did they carry out this robbery openly? And did they ever fall into the hands of the police, or will this raise goosebumps on your body? On the night of December 1st, 2020, some municipal workers were painting crossing lanes on the roads, and at this time there was no traffic on the streets, and it was completely deserted. This was the daily routine of those workers, and they were all busy in their work when suddenly at some distance they saw cars coming whose headlights were on. All of these were SUV cars, moving one after another in a line. Before the workers could understand anything, these cars stopped near them, and some masked men came out of them and pointed guns at them. All these workers were made to sit in the middle of the road. After this, their shirts were taken off, and their tools were taken away from them. Within just a few minutes, these workers had been taken hostage, and all the roads were blocked. At a short distance from this roadblock, near the police station, the sound of gunshots started, and in the city center at the Banco do Brasil cash vault, a very loud explosion occurred. This explosion was so powerful that it shook the nearby buildings, and it became clear that this masked gang had not come to rob some ATM or a small bank, but their intention was something much bigger. Banco do Brasil is the largest cash vault in all of Brazil, where the government keeps its treasury. And this night, the entire city of Crisiuma was about to become a witness to the biggest robbery in the history of Brazil. The story begins on December 1st, 2020, when in the city of Crisiuma, Brazil, the day had ended and all people had finished their work and were preparing for the weekend. Because the next day was a holiday, the municipal workers had been given the task to paint crossing lanes. Sergio Eduardo, along with his two fellow workers, Marcelo and Juliano, was busy in his work. Around 11:30 at night, they took a break and parked their truck near São José Street and began eating and drinking. During this time, Sergio saw a car coming in the wrong direction toward him, and he thought that maybe the driver had mistakenly brought the car in the wrong direction. But shortly, that car stopped near him, and 4 people came out of it. All 4 of them were dressed entirely in black clothes, which looked like uniforms, and at the same time their faces were completely covered with masks, and in their hands were guns. The rifles that were in their hands were something Sergio had never seen before. Then one of the 4 told Sergio to turn off the truck's engine and that all 3 of them should take off their shirts and sit on the ground. Out of fear and panic, Sergio and his companions immediately obeyed them. Just then, from some distance, the sound of continuous gunfire started. Amid the sound of bullets, a very loud explosion occurred, which shook the ground and nearby buildings. And now the mysterious kidnapping of the workers had turned into destruction, which was about to happen in the city center building. Meanwhile, a convoy of SUV cars was heading toward the city of Crisiuma, which included luxury cars like Audi, Mercedes, and Range Rover, all moving one after the other. Inside all these cars was a gang of about 30 people, and they were all fully armed. After reaching the city, this entire convoy split into different groups. One group went straight toward the police station and, reaching outside, began continuous firing. Because of this firing, holes were made in the walls of the police station. Due to this, the police officers hid inside, and the gate was also set on fire so that the way out would be blocked. On the other side, near Banco do Brasil, the gang set fire to a truck in the middle of the road so that passage in and out would be blocked, and at the same time, spike strips were also laid on the streets so that no police or law enforcement could reach there. The main unit of this gang was stationed outside the cash vault, and the rest of the units took control of different parts of the city. During this time, civilians passing by and workers painting were all forced out of their vehicles, their shirts removed, and they were made to sit in the middle of the road. All were made to sit in the middle of the road so that they could be used as human shields, and police or army would not fire at them. The hostages sitting in the street understood that now they would not be able to escape, and therefore they sat trembling in fear. For almost 2 hours, they were surrounded by gunmen and the sound of bomb blasts, and seeing the destruction happening there raised goosebumps on everyone. The gang members had AK-47s, AR-15s, and 50 caliber assault rifles which are used in war, and with these rifles, terrible destruction was to be caused. For setting fire to the cash hold and truck, bomb blasts were carried out, due to which the glass windows of nearby buildings also broke. This gang had about 200 kilograms, 440 pounds, of explosives, which was enough to destroy several parts of the city. This entire gang was carrying out this destruction in a very organized manner, in which the shooter's team was firing bullets, and another team was systematically blocking all roads. Their most important focus was that they had to stop the police from arriving in any way, and for this, they were using civilians as shields so that the entire city would remain under their control. On the other side, because of the firing outside the police station, the police officers understood that they were trapped, because neither did they have assault rifles, nor did they have many bullets, so they could not face this gang. Now they had only one option, to stay hidden inside the police station and wait for the police from another city to arrive, because this would take some time. Meanwhile, they were repeatedly calling for help from other police stations. By now, the attackers had blocked every route of the city, and everywhere in the city bomb blasts and fires were happening, which had sealed off the entire city. Around 11:50 at night, the first video of this destruction began appearing on social media, in which people were recording the scenes of destruction and uploading them. Within just a few minutes, about 1,100 people were watching this destruction live, and this scene was terrifying. Meanwhile, this news began appearing on every news channel, showing bomb blasts, gunfire, hostage civilians, and helpless police begging for help from other cities. Now everywhere in the city, this gang was roaming openly, with jeep doors open, waving their rifles in the air, and the city of 200,000 people had turned into a field of destruction. By midnight, every road leading to the city center was blocked, and then people came to know the gang's real target. Earlier, everyone thought that this gang had come to attack the police station or rob ATMs. But when they blasted the city center building, then they understood that the gang's target was the Banco do Brasil cash vault, where the government kept its treasury. Inside this vault were kept several hundred million reals, and this gang had come for them. Around 1 a.m., the first blast occurred outside this cash vault, and shortly afterward, 2 more blasts occurred, in which dynamite was used. As soon as the blasts happened, different teams started firing in the air so that everyone would be scared and no one would come in their way. Meanwhile, in the police station, the officers were hearing all this, but they could not do anything. After the blast, the door of the cash vault opened, and one gang member said on the walkie-talkie that the rest of the members should bring the cars outside the building. Hearing this, the convoy of luxury cars started moving toward the city center building. As soon as they reached there, they told the hostage civilians and workers to go inside the vault and start bringing out the cash. Slowly, bags filled with money began to be piled up on the roadside, and then these bags were loaded into the cars parked outside. During this time, the gang members were checking every bag very carefully, and this was a strange scene in which the hostage people were bringing out money from the vault. The drivers were packing this money, and within just 10 to 15 minutes, the entire cash vault had been emptied. Now they were fully ready to escape from there, when suddenly one gang member took out some bundles of notes from a bag and threw this money into the air. Now the entire street was covered with banknotes, and the people living nearby were watching this scene from their houses. Anyway, when this gang left, the people living nearby came down and looted all this money, and later when the police investigated, it was found that about $200,000 to $400,000 had been thrown into the air, and the gang disappeared with a huge portion of the loot. Before fleeing, the gang members also ordered all the hostages to sit in their places, otherwise, they would be shot. Around 2 o'clock at night, all the cars started, and this entire convoy escaped from Crisiuma city. Where usually after a robbery, thieves flee very fast, this gang was driving their cars very slowly, at a speed of just 20 kilometers per hour, 12 miles per hour. The gang members were sticking their rifles out of the car windows, aiming them everywhere so that if there was any danger, they could fire immediately. Before escaping, this gang also set 2 more trucks on fire behind them so that the road would be blocked and no one could chase them. So that's why even the police that came from another city were also forced to stop. As soon as this entire convoy left the city, it split into different parts so that no one could reach them. But neither did any police come behind them nor any law enforcement. However, when the people living nearby became sure that the gang of thieves had gone, they all came out of their houses and started picking up and collecting the bills lying on the street, while some stood there watching this whole scene and could not believe their eyes. Although the gang of thieves had left, they had left behind a scene of destruction in which trucks were burning in different parts of the city. Empty shells of bullets were lying on the streets, and everywhere windows and door glasses were shattered. Because of the blasts, the door of the cash vault had become completely bent, and its locks were destroyed. But by the time the forensic team reached the crime scene, it was already morning. By around 6:30 in the morning, the investigation of this robbery had begun, and with the help of search dogs, the police started combing different parts of the city. While searching, the police reached the outskirts of the city, where the search dogs led them to a field, and upon reaching there, what the police saw brought a spark to their eyes. The police saw that there were 10 cars parked there, hidden among the crops of the field, and all these cars had been repainted black to hide their original color. But the police immediately understood that these were the same cars used in the robbery. From these cars, the forensic team got some fingerprints, bullet shells, and some DNA samples. And these DNA samples came from blood stains on the car seats, which confirmed that during the blasts, one of the gang members had also been injured. Now the police started searching the entire area around this field, and then they spotted a warehouse a little distance away from the field, and this warehouse revealed many secrets related to the robbery. Upon entering the warehouse, the police saw that the walls were painted black, and paintbrushes and rollers were lying on the ground. All over the warehouse floor, different items were lying, including gloves and some clothes, and these clothes had gunpowder and blood stains. The police also found a first aid kit, which made them realize that the thieves had come here first, treated their injured companion, and then fled. A few days had passed since the beginning of this investigation, but the thieves were still not caught. And then an information tip came to the police from the outskirts of Crisiuma city. This information was coming from villagers outside Crisiuma, where they told the police that there was some unusual activity happening in a farmhouse in their village. According to these villagers, some people had been living in this warehouse for the past few days, claiming to be tourists. They had expensive cars, played loud music, and partied late into the night. Since no one in their village lived such a lifestyle, it was very strange and suspicious for the villagers, and this caught their attention. However, by the time the police raided this warehouse, all the thieves had already fled. But the police found some evidence there, pointing towards their involvement in the robbery. In this warehouse, the police found some maps of Crisiuma city, with different routes marked. Radios tuned to police frequencies, and empty boxes of bullets were also found. Mattresses and food lying around indicated that this gang had been living there comfortably. When the owner of the warehouse was interrogated, he said that one gang member had given him $3,000 cash as rent, and they quickly vacated the place and left. As the investigation progressed, new revelations kept coming before the police, and they learned that this gang had used 9 different warehouses to hide. However, each warehouse was used for different purposes, some for hiding cars, some for weapons and ammunition, and some where they themselves stayed disguised as tourists so no one would suspect them. From these revelations, the police understood that this robbery had been planned in a very organized way, with connections spread across many different cities. While the forensic team was scanning each warehouse very carefully, the police now began checking surveillance footage and investigating which phones were active near the cash vault that night. On suspicion, the police started listening to the call recordings of some phone numbers, and then some people came before them who were continuously talking between Santa Catarina and Sao Paulo. Now the police also started digging into these people's bank accounts, where they found very large transactions. And these were the people whose names had previously been linked with other crimes. From CCTV footage, the police also got some evidence, showing the cars at gas stations before the robbery that were used in the heist and later abandoned near the field. The biggest evidence that the police got was of the gang members themselves, who were seen getting out of these cars, refueling, and buying other supplies. Now the police also had the faces of some suspects. All this evidence and these faces were pointing toward a single gang, and this was Brazil's most dangerous gang, called Primeiro Comando de Capital, PCC. This gang started in 1992 in a Sao Paulo prison and grew from just a few prisoners into Brazil's biggest and most dangerous gang. By 2020, this gang controlled most of Brazil's drug supply, with nearly 400 members, and its connections extended to Mexico, Colombia, and several European cartels. The way the government treasury's cash vault was looted, and the scale of destruction caused during it, fit perfectly with the PCC gang because no other local gang could pull off such a dangerous heist. And now the police had enough evidence to begin making arrests. The first arrests began in Rio Grande City, where the police traced two suspects hiding in a rented house with their girlfriends. When the police tried to capture them, one suspect fled towards the forest, but the police caught him, and the other suspect was already arrested inside the house. Both suspects were identified as PCC gang members directly involved in the cash robbery. The police's biggest success came when they caught a man named Marcio Geraldo, also known as Buddha. Buddha was a top leader of the PCC gang with direct connections to big cartels, and his arrest was a huge achievement for the police. From Buddha's arrest, the police also learned how the entire robbery was financed. He had taken large sums of money from cartels, which he used to buy weapons, cars, and warehouses to hide in. During this investigation, the police's attention also turned to a couple named Alexandro and Kevin. They were the ones who arranged the cars, weapons, and warehouses for the entire robbery. Although they were not directly involved in the heist, their responsibility was to deliver the cash to the members and arrange everything. They were last seen in the city of Gramado, but before the police could reach them, they had already fled. For the next several months, they hid in different cities using fake identities so the police could not reach them. But after 4 months, the police finally arrested them in Sao Paulo City. The police learned of their location from an informant, after which they raided the place and caught both of them. By now, the police had arrested a total of 17 people directly involved in this robbery, and they were sentenced to between 36 to 50 years in prison. Among them, some had fired guns, while others had arranged the hideouts. But even after these arrests, the police could not figure out one thing, and that was the stolen money. The police believed that several hundreds of millions of reals, tens of millions of USD, were stolen in this heist. But they could recover only $200,000 to $400,000, and this was the same cash that the gang members had thrown into the air. Although the police kept trying to trace this cash, they later found out that much of it had been invested into properties through fake contracts, while the rest had been laundered abroad in the name of fake companies. Even after finding all this out, the police could not recover the money because it had all been done in legal ways. And this always troubled the police department, that they caught the thieves, but they could not get to the money. How did you like this story? Do write in the comments section. Like and subscribe to the channel.